Hello and welcome to the Nerd Age podcast where we talk about everything nerdy. I am Jonah, one of your hosts today, with my cousin Corey.
Hello.
And Josh.
What up?
Mick couldn't make it today, so we miss you, Mick. He'll be back next week. But just the three of us today. We are going to jump into Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. It dropped on Friday, so I've been playing it a ton. Josh has been playing it. Corey's
been watching streamers do
watching streamers. But we're just going to talk about it. We're not going to go into spoilers just because I think a lot of people haven't finished it unless you're a streamer that did a quick run through. But I'm kind of taking my time. So we'll talk about a few things. If we go into spoiler territory, it'll be like mild stuff, and we'll kind of preface that. But yeah, what do you think, Josh? What do you think? You got it for Crystal and her sisters. So it was a house full of people playing it. What do you think?
Yeah, basically Friday morning, went and picked it up. We were watching Crystal's sisters, and they brought their Switches. So
nice.
it was really
You guys had a LAN party, basically.
real easy babysitting because they were just playing Zelda the whole time. But yeah, it was kind of cool to see kind of how they interacted with it.
Because how old are they?
They're 11 and 9.
Okay.
So and they play video games all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, just kind of seeing for one, I was trying to avoid spoilers because they were way ahead of me, obviously.
Right.
So I was like, but just seeing how they interacted and like solving the puzzles and stuff like that. The building aspect of it was really cool, and just seeing how they're like, "Hey, look what I built!" Just fusing things together. I thought that was really cool, just to kind of see how kids would play. Basically, like creating whatever the heck they want. So I thought that was really cool, and it's one of the cooler things that I've enjoyed about the game is just the aspect of you can basically build your way out of any situation for the most part. I'm not super creative, so I just make really long logs. I'm like, all right, let's make a really long log. That'll get me up there. But yeah, overall, I haven't really done much of the story yet at all. Just kind of past the intro into where I can kind of explore. But yeah, my problem with these games, and not saying like it's a bad thing, but I just like get super distracted. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna head this way, and then I'm like, oh, there's a shrine over here. Oh, there's a mountain. Let's at the top of the mountain, and then I'll end up like on the other side of the map, and I'm like, wait, what was I doing again?
Yeah.
So it'll probably take me a while to beat this game.
Yeah, that's totally by design too. They want you to get lost in the game. That's the beauty of these type of games. But can we talk about we can at least talk about the intro, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, I think this is one of the coolest intros to a Zelda game that I've watched. I mean, obviously, we're getting newer games. We're getting better. Like, let's talk about like the very first Zelda, compared to this. It's like not even anything related, except for the names. I just loved how they did the intro. The intro is really cool. I love when they do these like hieroglyphic kind of like wall things where it's like she's reading them and talking about the legend of, what was it called?
The Demon King and
the something war, the war with the Demon King. And it's just kind of cool to see because, when it comes to Zelda timelines and kind of like, reincarnations and like, oh, well, this Ocarina of Time Zelda is this one and this is the order. And it's kind of cool to go to the very start. It's really cool to kind of start seeing this age that's like really early on in Hyrule's history. And so it's very intriguing to see how that all works. And the whole idea of like, we watched what happens, right?
Yeah.
With a mummy. I mean, we all know who it is, right?
You've seen it in the trailers.
Yeah,
Okay.
you see it in the trailers.
Okay. It's just so cool to see all of that power and kind of see how just overwhelming he is with Link and Zelda and seeing what happens with Zelda. It's like, oh, what's that?
Yeah.
It's just so cool. Very intriguing. What do you think about the intro?
Yeah, so when I went and got it Friday morning and I started playing, I almost stopped. And because you said you were working, but I almost stopped playing and was going to be like, hey, Corey, just come over and we'll play it. Because the intro is so cool how they do it. It's kind of you're playing, but you're kind of seeing the story.
Yeah.
And a lot of times with the Zelda games, you normally get like the typical intro that's like a little music and like animation kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like I think of Wind Waker and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Where it was like you never really got much of a... It was more of a narration of stuff, but this is actually you're kind of playing, and it feels like you're more immersed in the story. So I absolutely loved it. I just thought the voice acting works really well. The Demon King, or his voice is really awesome. Even the short little section you get there, that all just really worked for me. The music's really good. And so I just really loved it. And then going from that into actually them kind of teaching you how to use the new abilities and all that kind of stuff was really cool. I really liked it. So to start off, I just thought it was really good. I was just really excited about it.
I think it's a good way to, and also a creative way to kind of, because when you make a second version of a game, you have to somehow down level the person that you had, like explain how Link got weaker. And it's kind of cool how they did that.
Because you had full hearts and all that.
Yeah, it literally showed the hearts.
I was like, man, look at my stamina. I can run forever.
And I was like, and I got the Master Sword and everything. So, I was like, how are they going to get you down to the 3 hearts again? So it was cool. But I think this game is... There are a lot of people that when they saw the trailers, they were like, is this just going to be like Breath of the Wild, basically just an expansion pack or an add-on kind of stuff? But once you start playing the game, you realize how many changes they've made that have actually made the game better and how big it is. So, like, not only do you get basically Hyrule's changed a little bit, there's different aspects to it, but you got the Sky Islands. And then I originally thought, like, oh, well, you're going to be able to go into some caves and stuff like that. But the fact that it's the whole map, the underground, too, like, that is just huge. And so there's a lot of stuff to do. I think one of the best things they've done in this game that I think was one of my things I didn't like about Breath of the Wild, or I felt was lacking, was once you did certain things, the world felt really, like, vacant, And part of that was a storytelling of it was like, well, there's Hyrule got taken over and all this kind of stuff, so it's kind of desolate. But there wasn't much to do. Like, you'd find the same guys that were fighting bokoblins or whatever, and you'd help them out. But there was nothing really to do. But this one, there feels like there's a lot more stuff to do. The world feels more lived in, which is really cool.
So what have you done so far, Josh? I mean, you've just kind of just been adventuring around, just discovering things then?
Yeah, basically just doing shrines.
Okay.
I wanted to... get my paraglider for sure.
Right.
Gotta get that.
Because I was instantly. There's a really cool. The ascend ability is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Just being able to let me shoot straight up and go to the highest point I can, and then I would get up there and I'm like, oh crap, how am I gonna get back down now? So that was like the first thing I was like, I need to get my paraglider because I need to be able to jump off this. But other than that, I've done a couple side quests so far. But I haven't done any of the main. I've done one of the initial tier, dragon tier. That's I guess technically part of the main mission, but I haven't done any dungeons yet or anything like that. But I think going off of what you guys were saying about the intro, I was like hooked right away, like just to get back into the world and just the way they presented it was really cool. And I think it's interesting that it's interesting to meet people and they're like, hey, Link, it's you. You know what I mean? I think this is the first game where people actually know who you are.
Yeah.
Because, in all the other games, you're like, the whole story is, who are you? You're this unknown person from, this tiny village that's coming to save Zelda.
Yeah.
But now you have this, like, I guess this reputation of being like, oh, you're
the
Zelda's
hero.
swordsman.
Yep.
So I think that's kind of an interesting aspect of it. It's like, hey, it's nice to be respected for a change. You know what I mean? I keep saving this kingdom over and over again, and no one remembers it. Now they're like, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
But then they're like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
So, but so far, I've really enjoyed it. It's been awesome.
Now, do you guys feel like this story is, I guess this kind of rendition of the story is unique enough to kind of, I don't know, warrant being the second version of Breath of the Wild, like the follow-up to it? Does it feel like a replay? I think a lot of people look at Zelda games and they're all kind of very similar story-wise and kind of what you do. Like, is this different enough?
Yeah, this one to me already kind of sets itself apart because it does have Ganondorf in it, in that aspect of the villain.
Now, what was Calamity Ganon then?
He wasn't. He was Ganon, not Ganondorf.
Yeah.
Okay, but Ganon and Ganondorf, how are they different?
Different forms.
Right, but
so
that's the part I'm confused on.
Well, so the thing with Calamity was more of like the malice, his spirit. There was never like the physical
embodiment of it.
So it was never actually him.
It was his malice.
But
like and now in this movie we're kind of in this game we're realizing where that was coming from, which was him. So I think that gives it kind of a unique feel to it. And there was the thing I liked about Breath of the Wild was there were stories or certain things you would find, or it would be like, oh, the child that came from the desert, like people talking about Ganondorf, but you never knew it was like you figured, oh, they're talking about him, but he never showed up in the game.
Right.
So I think it's really cool that they kind of, I don't know if they had the plan to make it the sequel or because it did so well, they were like, hey, let's just do this. But it fits really well with what they kind of did. And so for me, the story, I think this is, because I think what you said is right. Zelda games a lot of times are more about the mechanics of it and not as much about the story. Like, you know, it just feels like, oh, you got to go save Zelda, and then
you got to go get these 4
realize
temples
that you've got
6 temples, and you got to
realize that you have one of the pieces of the Triforce, and it's the reincarnation kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But this one feels like the story is more engaging to me because I'm already like wanting to figure out what's going on, who Rauru and all that kind of stuff is. Like that stuff is really cool, and the voice acting is. I think the voice acting is really good.
Yeah.
Like even from the beginning when he's talking to you and you realize you have his arm. That's a cool mechanic. That's a cool dynamic. That's a cool aspect of it. And you know, in the beginning you find out that he's a spirit. He's like, yeah, that used to be my hand, and I'm dead now, kind of thing. Like that's a really cool dynamic of stuff that's going on. And I just want to know more about it because I feel like for the first time, Breath of the Wild, I thought the story was good, but this one to me is just like over the top.
This is the first time I actually think that a Zelda game has a good story. I think everything else has been okay and acceptable, but the gameplay is just so engaging and so fun. And the you know, playing the swordsman and saving, you know, the princess and stuff like that. That's so standard. But this story, they do something very different. They do something very, very different, and it is just so sick. It is worth it. Like, if you're interested in Zelda and you're like, I've played it before, it's like, no, this story is like so much better than I ever thought it would be. It blew my mind. I was like,
nice.
Dang, this is my favorite Zelda. You know, girl, the princess.
Yeah,
she's the best. She's the freaking best, dude. There are some moments where I was like, oh, it got me a little bit.
Yeah.
Really good. So, yeah, be excited for that because, man.
That's super cool.
It didn't hold back, dude. It's sick.
I thought she was great in Breath of the Wild, too. And I think that's one of the first games where you've actually spent more time with Zelda and developed her backstory a little more. So to hear that, you know, they've done that more in this game just gets me a lot more excited.
Well, and the cool thing about it is
so sick,
we rarely get direct sequels in the Zelda franchise. It's normally like if there's a sequel, it happens
way different.
Yes, and if there's a sequel, it happens maybe even years later. Like where like, oh, well, this is a sequel to A Link to the Past, you know, and all that kind of stuff. Or it's kind of there's never or Majora's Mask, you know, was like completely different than Ocarina of Time. Even though it was a direct sequel, it was kind of like weird.
But it was in a different area.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this one, I think because they did a good job with Breath of the Wild storytelling and those characters, the fact that now they're upping their game even more with the storytelling, it kind of benefits to the fact that, for me, I played so much Breath of the Wild, that I really like those characters. So now any little thing is like, oh, that's sick. That's awesome. Or running into characters that you knew from the first game. That stuff is really cool. And I think it's a great payoff to people that have played or people that have followed the storyline. So yeah, I can't wait. I'm kind of addicted at this point. I'm staying up to because it's on, I have it on the Switch. I don't need to go up to the upstairs, turn the TV on. It's like, okay, Maya, go to bed. She falls asleep next to me. I'm laying in her bed, and before you know it, it's 4 a.m, and I'm still playing Tears of the Kingdom. So yeah, I'm kind of addicted right now.
I will say, we were talking to Crystal a little bit upstairs about it before we podcast, but the focus of being like, oh, I just want to adventure around and do my own little thing. That's a way you can play, and that's how they want you to play, really. But I will say this. The reason why that streamer that I talked to you guys about that I watched kind of beelined it through the story, because the story was so freaking engaging and good. You want to know what happens. Yeah. That's testament to this story. This story is awesome. It's so good, dude.
Yeah.
I can't wait for you guys to beat it, because, dude, it's so sick. But yeah. So mechanically, I mean, this is almost like a Minecraft game, probably more creative. Well, no, that's not true. But you have a lot of freedom on what you can do. What is some stuff that you guys have done with kind of the locking aspects of it, where you can connect everything together, stick everything together, and do things? Have you guys done anything creative at all?
Well, I mean, building cars and stuff.
You got a raft. I see rafts with little sails on them.
Yeah, it's
across
cool.
the water.
One of the things I realized that after a while that I was like, oh, you can do that, is if you use the to reach certain places, I can use Ultra Hand and grab something and just move it up and down without sticking it to anything. And then I'll do the rewind on it, and it'll do that same motion. So I can that was even something I was like, oh, this is a really cool way to just be like, I need to reach something. I'll just Ultra Hand it up and then
you just
bring it back down. It's like an elevator.
Yeah.
So there's just really cool stuff like that I think the more you kind of think about it, you're like, oh, well, I can do this. There's been times where I was like, there's one of the shrines where I was like, what am I supposed to do here? There's a ball that's just rolling, towards you, and there's a target over to the left side. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And then I realized, oh, you're supposed to make a bat and hit the ball so that it hits the target. That kind of stuff is just it's cool when you, even something so simple, when you figure out something to do it, you're like, huh, I figured it out. Huh. That kind of stuff is just cool. And just to be able to make whatever you want. Like Josh says, I end up making really long sticks.
Long sticks, right?
And then oh, I'm gonna walk across this. I need another stick. Well, let me cut down these 4 trees. So then I'm wasting time, and then I realized, well, I could have just used a rocket on my shield and flown up. But it's just the fact that you're able to there's many ways to get around a problem is cool.
Yeah. It's funny because you'll see a lot of people playing, and everyone plays differently, but the thing that I see most commonly is that everyone looks like they're just they just rolled out of a Goodwill, and they've got stuff stuck to their shield. They got stuff, a rock on the edge of their sword, and they just look like they just picked up crap, and they're just smashing things with it. So it's just funny to see.
I also like the fact you can fuse arrows with different materials is awesome. Really cool too. Because
we saw that from the trailer.
You can use. I was having a really hard time with, there was a group of enemies, and there was a big guy that I couldn't kill. I died 5 times. And then I finally just was I put a ruby on my arrow and shot it, and it just destroyed everybody.
Blew up?
It's supercharged, they all caught on fire, and I was just like, "What?"
Rubies are expensive, bro. That's
they
an expensive arrow.
But I was like, well, I mean, I got the job done. But just that kind of aspect is cool. That there's certain things that you wouldn't even think about.
Yeah.
I also there's these light bulb. The fact that you can throw things when you're in the dark and you just throw these light bulbs, I guess what's what they're called, and they just grow and they shine. I mean, that's really just little things that I'm just they thought about all these kind of mechanics that kind of work really well.
Yeah. And I will say that, like, this isn't anything truly unique. Like, other games do these things just differently, or, you know, maybe only a couple of the features that they have here. But it is cool to see that, like, Nintendo's adopting that and they're willing to let kind of their pride go a little bit. Because when you let a player have this much freedom, they can make whatever they want, you know, and they can make the game kind of look a bit silly, you know, or ridiculous or whatever.
Or inappropriate.
And we've seen some stuff, you know, they're funny, but whatever. But it's like, you know, Nintendo, right?
Yeah.
Like the way that they treat their games, they protect it like their firstborn, you know, and they're just, they don't want you to make a mockery of their art. And so this is the first game that I've seen. I'm just like, oh, respect. Like, they're embracing that. And because of that, they're being rewarded. Like, this game is like 10s across the board, review-wise. There are memes all over the place on the internet of different creations and stuff like that. And it's just so cool to see the community kind of like just sharing what they've done. Like, who's going to take the time to record what they're doing on a console game, you know? But people are doing that. They're getting their phones out. They're like, oh, look what I made. I got a hook on a cable and I put a rocket on it and like flying up. Super cool and creative. I love that.
Yeah. Plus, it just opens up the world for, like, you know, it could be you beat the game and then you're like, oh, well, I'm done playing this. But like with the amount of creativity that, I mean, I guess Breath of the Wild you could see people do some crazy stuff on Breath of the Wild where they would like spam, freeze something, and spam it and just get launched in the air or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think just the amount of like
there's gonna be
creative control you have to just be like, I'm gonna take the time to build a massive robot or, you know, whatever it is. It's like, it's pretty crazy.
I mean, I've already seen tanks and stuff like that. It's nuts.
Here's a question. Do you guys think this, because I was thinking about this the other day. I can't see them making another Zelda game like the ones they used to do. Does this break? Because I feel like anything, obviously they've done their kind of like remasters or that kind of stuff.
Right.
But can you see them, to me it's like once you already have this, to me it's superior to any other Zelda game. I thought that about Breath of the Wild, and now this one's even better. So my question is, are you stuck now with this style in this open world gameplay? You know, if you go back to, like, say 10 years from now, they're like Zelda, you know, Windows of the Soul or whatever. And
foretelling. Wow.
And it's kind of this whole,
he's going to call it, watch.
But they're like, oh, it's more of like an Ocarina of Time style. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it goes back to that where it's more limited. Do you think they can ever do that? Or do you think they're kind of stuck now with like, well, we have to kind of expand more on this universe because of how the gameplay is and how the reception is from fans?
I think that, like, Ocarina of Time specifically, like, and Majora's Mask, those games are those sizes based on kind of hardware limitations.
Yeah.
Right. And so for the time, those worlds were actually, they felt like a big,
massive,
massive world. And in reality, it's just a pretty small town. You know what I mean? Like, it's actually quite small. But now that we have better technology, hopefully we have a new Nintendo, you know, in the next 5 years. That'd be great. I hope. I don't think that they'll ever size it down like that. And the way that they're doing, gosh, I wish you guys had more of the story done, but the way they're handling story with the amount of freedom you have in what you finish first and in what order, they're smart about it. So I don't think they're going to like dumb it down. I don't think they will. Now, I think they could limit how big it was maybe, and maybe do a different art style or something like that, or, you know, integrate some other graphic elements maybe. But it just feels like, especially because they did a second version of it, that they are feeling their stride.
Yeah.
That it works really well. But I guess I'd have to play Tears of the Kingdom to feel if it's too big. Because I think there is such thing as too big. But I haven't had anyone complain about it. So yeah, I don't think they'll go back to that standard super rigid because you should still do things out of order, but there are some things that they time gated behind abilities, and that's like a classic Zelda thing.
Like, oh, you can't go there because you need the hook shot.
And they still kind of do that a little bit, but like there was an aspect of Breath of the Wild where you could literally just run to Ganon and kill Calamity Ganon. So it's like, I don't know if they'll go back to it. I don't think they will. What do you think, Josh?
I think they'll still keep the open world. I think they can still do like a 2D story.
Well, yeah,
because that, depending on how big the story is, it can be like, maybe the next one is, hey, we do a 2D one, different style, more like Link to the Past or something like that.
Well, I can see them,
and then while they're doing that, they're developing, whatever the next new world is, and it's still open world. Maybe, like you said, Corey, maybe a different art style.
Yeah.
But I think they would. I think they've found kind of their sweet spot of like, we're opening it up for you to kind of explore the dungeons in whichever order you want to do. So I think they'll keep that mechanic moving forward. But I think they still do have the freedom to do something that's different.
Yeah.
But not like going back to like Ocarina of Time or anything like that.
Well,
but like going back to like older games, different style, 2D.
Yeah.
Kind of like they did with Link to the or Link's Awakening.
Yeah, that's what I was,
a remaster, but you already have that style.
Yeah.
So you could make a new game in that type of style.
That's what I think they might do. I think they might actually do those I think they might do like Minish Cap and Seasons and
Ages,
Oracle
and
Season,
those kind of things, and update them like they did with Link's Awakening.
In between.
But
those
to me is kind of like the only thing you do is you either do a third Breath of the Wild game, like if this one, like if you have more story to tell. I don't know if they do, or the other option for me is like you got to do something completely different, and the only way that's going to be different is if it's a completely different graphic style.
It'll be a new
which
console.
I would say it'd have to be a new console, and it would I think what they go with is like a like graphics that we haven't seen.
They're never going to.
They'll never do it. We want it, but they won't.
It's like Red Dead Redemption,
That's what I'm saying.
They won't.
It's like Ghost of Tsushima. Like that kind of style. I think that's what their next thing is going to be. If they don't do another sequel in this vein, I think they set up to be like, hey, the next thing now is we've done the open world, we've done all this stuff. Now let's give them.
I mean,
this guy's been saying the same thing for 20 years.
You have been, and it's never going to happen because they want to be different, and they don't want to go toe to toe with Microsoft because that's all they're doing is hyperrealism.
Yeah, but
why do you want to go to bat with them when they've had so many years of experience perfecting hyperrealism?
But
do I agree it'd be sick? Yes, of course. That'd be cool, but it's not.
But would it be Zelda?
Yes, it would be Zelda. Because here's the thing.
Yeah, it still would be.
Twilight Princess.
Depends on how they do it.
Twilight Princess kind of goes in that vein where it's more of that style.
Yeah, more realistic.
But I just think, for me, Nintendo doesn't. It's not like, hey, all our games are going to be this way. I think if you do one in the franchise, it's like, hey, we've done all this other stuff. Wind Waker's different than Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild is different than Twilight Princess. Skyward Sword is a little different. Like they've all done this kind of a little different, and I think they would be able to do it. And the fact that it's a Zelda game is already going to sell. So I just think that would be something they haven't done yet that I think they might be interested in doing at some point.
They're never gonna make a bad product, like a bad looking product.
Right.
So think about Ocarina of Time. Back in the day, that looked awesome.
Yes.
Right? And then we kind of started not being the edge, like the top edge of
graphics started getting...
So we started kind of petering, and then guess what? They started doing, like, what was it?
Wind Waker.
Wind Waker was cell shaded. So it's like that's when they accepted, we can't compete
graphic-wise, but gameplay.
But we're going to make it look sick with what we've got.
Yeah.
So I would say as time goes on and graphics get easier to make really good looking, you have a higher likelihood of that happening. But do I think Nintendo's going to do that? No, because I don't think they're going to go to a pure console experience. It's always going to be a mobile console.
Yeah.
Like they've found their niche and they're going to stay there.
Well, especially because the Switch is like the highest selling console they've ever had, right?
Yeah, because they don't have to share that area that they've carved out is theirs and theirs alone. What do they have to compete with?
But when the graphics,
Stream Deck, yeah,
when
right.
the graphics get that good, when you can have it on a handheld, I'm just watch out for it, guys.
I mean, I could see in like 15 years, maybe, but yeah, we'll see. How long did it take them to make this game?
6.
So, but they already had assets. Like all the UI is basically the same stuff. Like they reused a lot of stuff. But how much was Breath of the Wild? That was a while, right?
Breath of the Wild was
Wasn't it like 8 years. That was a long time.
Because it would have been
Skyward Sword.
Skyward Sword before that.
And that was Wii.
Maybe longer.
That was Wii.
Wii U?
Game. No.
Was there a Wii U?
It was Wii U.
It was Wii U, right?
It was Wii U. Wii U.
Yeah.
Look up the year.
Yes, they released it, but Wii U was
got
out. Yes.
Yeah.
How long
But they
did
also
it
released
take?
on-
Yeah. How long did look up how long it took from? We got phones.
Because
you guys.
here's the thing. I don't. It depends on what they're planning, but I can't see the Switch going another like 6 years.
Oh no, I think
I think they have to move on. They're obviously already working on it, I'm sure, but they have to in the next 5 years, like 4 years maybe. They have to release a new console.
No, I'm thinking
have
3
to.
years.
I hope so. But yeah. So when that happens, yeah, I think we'll see another Zelda come out in a couple of years afterwards. But
And another Smash Bros.
no, I
Smash
don't.
Bros. Is done.
I don't think so.
Skyward Sword came out in 2011, and then Breath of the Wild was 2017.
Okay.
There was
Oh,
remasters
those
in between.
6.
So
So
6
they're-
years.
they're-
Six.
They're on a
cycle.
6-year cycle.
Yeah, I wonder. Huh.
How does that? You guys that know more games than I, how does that relate or compare with other games that have sequels? Basically,
Yeah, that's actually longer than you would actually expect for a sequel game.
Okay.
What did you say? 7 years?
6.
well, yeah. I mean,
No.
Madden comes out every year.
No. So Breath of Breath of the Wild, and then Tears of the Kingdom. You said that was 6 years.
Yeah, that was also or
7 years.
It took him 6
yeah,
years.
6 years.
So, yeah, I honestly look at like 4 to 5 years being a development time. So it took longer than I expected. But considering how big it is, like basically twice as big, if that's what you're basically claiming, right? The world is basically twice as big. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's crazy. But it is worth it, guys. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I can't
That story, dude. Once you get a taste of, I mean, you kind of get a taste.
I'm already.
You're
I'm
kind of
already
finding
hooked. I'm
things
already
out,
hooked.
right?
Yeah, piecing it together.
It got crazy.
Well, doing what's the really cool thing too, and I talked about this when we were hyping up Tears of the Kingdom when the trailers came out. But in Breath of the Wild, one of my favorite things was talking about the Zonai ruins and all this kind of stuff, and like, oh, it's ancient civilization, and the fact that that's kind of the biggest part of this story is like, oh, the Zonai, who they were, trying to figure out all that kind of stuff. That's really cool. To me, I don't know why I'm not an archaeologist, but I grew up as a kid wanting to be an archaeologist. And so
it's never too late.
It's never too late. I want to be like Indiana Jones. But this kind of stuff, I eat it up. So like going through ruins, figuring out what it says on the tablets, like translating all that kind of stuff, that stuff just is really cool to me. So I just love where the story's going and all that kind of stuff of it. So I love it. It's great. Do you guys have anything else to say on Tears of the Kingdom, or are we good? We want to move on to something else?
Yeah. I think I'm
Anything
good.
else? No.
Okay.
I wish I could say more.
We'll probably keep talking about it.
This game is so sick.
And then at some point, we'll probably do a spoiler recap of it. We'll do the same thing with Jedi Survivor once more people play it. I don't know if Josh and Crystal are... What are you guys going to do now? Do you guys go back to Jedi Survivor? Do you guys...
That's rough road.
They can't even talk about Jedi Survivor.
Yeah, dude.
You guys suck.
Hey,
I
I'm
better
almost...
beat these games before Diablo
Yeah.
comes out. That's all I'm
That's
gonna
next
say.
month.
Oh, jeez. Yeah,
we got two or 3 weeks. 3 weeks? I think 3
Yeah,
weeks
June
for
6th.
Diablo.
Holy
I'm so pumped. By the way, I did play Diablo. I played the little server
Smash.
slam. It was stupid because they down leveled us 5, so you couldn't even get to level 25. So I think that was a mistake they did.
Oh, okay.
They
I didn't know
kept
they
us at
did
level
that.
20. Yeah, but I killed Oshava, the world boss. Joel, shout out to Joel and the Mexicano crew, dude. They came in clutch, dude. That was sick. I was like, so it was right before Aiden's birthday, and they had a boss spawn. Sorry, we're just jumping to other stuff.
That's fine.
Yeah. Anyway, 6 o'clock. So it was like 5:55. I saw Joel log off. I was like, bro, I messaged him like, what are you doing? The boss is about to spawn. I need your help. And so he got on. I would assume it's his wife who's also playing. Oh, yeah, he said it was his wife, his brother-in-law, and then a friend.
Nice.
And they came in and like grouped up, and we just
Were they all dressed up like cholos?
yeah, they looked like cholos.
The riders came in.
They had the pointy boots on. Yeah, and we beat the boss. It was awesome. It was super fun.
That's cool.
So that was really dope. I could play with Joel. That was fun.
Nice. Yeah, he was asking what he texted and asked
Battle.net.
what was Battle.net. I was like, I don't have one, guys. I'm not playing Diablo, so.
Yeah. He's my boy though.
That's right. Shout out to Joel and the Mexican
crew,
devils.
Oh, nice.
Diablo, you know.
But yeah,
what were we gonna go to? I don't remember what we were gonna go to.
they announced something.
There was there's a new Lord of the Rings MMO
yeah.
that Amazon is working on. So they just announced that. I think it was today. So they said we're working with Embracer Group to work on this new MMO. Apparently, they had started working
in
on one
2021.
Yeah, 21.
Yeah.
It got canceled, and they were like, "This isn't the same thing at all. We weren't even very far in development with that one. So this is brand new.
You know what I think?
All new.
You know
Don't
what
worry
I
about
You
it.
know what I think they did? I think they
spun that into whatever New World or whatever.
So I think they saw New World and was like, "Oh, yeah, do that."
Yeah.
What's New World?
New World is kind of this like, it's like colonial style, but also like.
Oh, I saw the trailer for that. Was that at the Game Awards?
No, it came out.
It came out like
because I remember
couple years ago?
you and James were.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Never
I
mind.
played a lot of it
Never mind
a couple years ago, and they've improved it since because they didn't have much to do at the end game, but the game was quite fun, and it's an open world kind of survival MMO, kind of, but it's interesting. Yeah, it's like colonial times, but it's also you're on this island that has like this mysterious power and stuff like that, and there's monsters and stuff like that, and you're going around. It's really cool because they support a lot of people being in the area, and so you can actually end up having really fun big fights against other players and stuff like that. So the gameplay is actually really fun, and it's not like World of Warcraft where you like click on target, press spell, it casts spell. No, like you're aiming it and you can dodge and you can run, you can crouch. When you like lay on the ground, your name goes away. So if you hide really well in bushes, you can ambush people. Like, you know, you can have a really weak guy run out there and have like 3 dudes like chase him. He's like, ah, and then all of us come out of the freaking swamp and we just destroy him. It's a super fun game. We had some really fun memories from that game, but that's the Amazon Studios who's doing that. That was their first successful game. Honestly, they canceled the very first one they did. But yeah, I'm interested to see what was up with that. They had a 2021. They were going to make something for Lord of the Rings. And now all of a sudden they're like, yeah, you guys can definitely make an MMO for us. A Middle Earth one, a Lord of the Rings one.
Do we know what time frame it is?
Nothing.
That's the bummer.
All they said was just Lord of the Rings MMO. We're working. We're super excited. You know, you're the usual.
Yeah.
Did that Smeagol game come out? Or that Gollum game come out?
It hasn't.
Huh.
I did see.
Where it's supposed to be.
I thought that was supposed to come out.
It's not out yet.
Weird.
I saw that. What's that guy? YouTuber. Nerd of the Rings was able to played 30 minutes of it or something like that.
Interesting.
I watched him play or his review of the gameplay. It looked a little more interesting because apparently you can make decisions based off of I'm going to make a Smeagol decision or I'm going to make a Gollum decision. So you can
light, dark side kind of
so
thing.
you can kind of do that, which is a little interesting. This character model just drives me nuts.
It's bad.
Just how he looks, I'm like, it's terrible. But we'll see.
Yeah,
I don't know when that comes out. I think it comes out this year at some point, probably in the summer at some point.
I don't think we're seeing this Lord of the Rings game until 5 years from now or something like that. But here's a nice thing is that basically Amazon Studios, they created their own Unreal Engine, so their own engine to build their game in. So it's called Lumberyard, I think. And they made New World in that one. So maybe they're able to expedite this game a little bit further if they just use the framework of New World. I think it would be pretty hype if they did do that, because having kind of a more action RPG where you're dodging and you're shooting your bow and stuff like that, and you have weapons that you can choose from. And you have awesome, like cool, like Numenorian armor, or like Elvish armor, or Dwarven armor. Like I can see that in New World, basically. I think it would be pretty sweet. I would definitely play it if it came out relatively soon. But yeah, I think we're no shorter than 5 years away, which is kind of a bummer.
Sheesh.
But why do they do that? Why do they announce it? Why do they make it public so early? I wonder why they do that.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Do you think that it's kind of like overhyping it too early, or is it just something they're excited about and they just want people to know what's going on?
I think they probably just want to hype, like, oh, we're working on this. Don't forget about us.
I'm wondering
too. It is stupid. Though.
I'm wondering too. Does it have to do with rights issues? Because I know some of the like when Warner Brothers had rights to Lord of the Rings, they had to be working on films, or else they would lose the rights. So is that part of it too, where Amazon has to be like, hey, we're working on this, so we still have the rights because we're working on it, and then if it doesn't go anywhere, they're like, well, it got canceled, but we have this now we're working on.
Yeah,
so there might be that too.
It might be a rights thing,
but I think also there's games that do that a lot too, where it's like they announce stuff and then 3 years pass, and you're like, hey, didn't they announce that game?
Like Skyrim.
Well, but I was also thinking of what's that Star Wars game that they showed a trailer a couple years ago? Star Wars Eclipse, was it?
Yeah.
Like I haven't heard anything of.
Well, there was
that.
like behind the scenes crap going on with the studio. So,
that to me is kind of like, when games are announced and then you're like, that's weird. I haven't heard anything.
You mean like
about
Metroid Prime 4?
Exactly. What's that been like? 12 years, 15 years?
Too long.
So. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, so weird. But yeah, I think that's we've got Diablo in 3 weeks. What else do we have coming up?
Movies coming out. The Flash is coming out pretty soon.
Best superhero movie of all time. Quote everyone in the world.
Quote Tom Cruise.
That's right. Dude, I keep hearing great stuff.
I mean, they're saying it's good, but it's like people that you're like, why did, like, the Tom Cruise thing was weird. Like, he wanted to see it, and then Tom Cruise claims it's amazing. Did you hear the other one that was Al Roker?
What?
Like, he tweeted out, he's like, I'm not allowed to say anything, but we saw a screening of a certain movie, and he, like...
Put a little lightning bolt on there?
Put a lightning... He's like, for Good Morning America, and let me tell you, this is one of the greatest things I've ever seen. And people were sharing it. I'm like,
let's go, Al Roker.
Bro, Al Roker's pumped about it?
It's got to be.
He was in Seinfeld, so that's all good. But... It's weird. It's a weird thing to be like. And then the other thing is like,
it's so weird.
This movie may be fantastic, but to me, it is ushering in
the
James Gunn's universe that I'm not excited for. So to me, it's kind of just like.
But what if it's good? What if it's good, bro?
If
it actually no bias? It's actually good. What if? Bro?
Here's the thing. If it's good,
will you allow yourself
all the things that are good, they're not continuing.
You don't know that. You don't know.
From what reports say.
Reports? What are reports, bro? Al Roker? Tom Cruise?
No, but again, so the Michael Keaton stuff.
Yeah.
Okay? He was supposed to be they were setting up a Batman Beyond, and they said they're not doing that anymore. The Supergirl. They said they're originally going to be, she was going to continue as Supergirl. James Gunn has said that's not his Supergirl. So he's going to use Supergirl in another, like, so they're not continuing her. They had a cameo with Henry Cavill. They took that out. The Ben Affleck stuff, they were going to continue, like, have Ben Affleck, oh, he's still around. They said they're changing that. So Ben Affleck's gone. So to me, it's like, you're resetting.
Here's the thing. What if the story is actually good? That's just a writing.
The story can probably, I think, it's probably going to be good.
If writing, like, quality is good, that's a positive.
Yeah.
Because then maybe the next movie that comes out might actually have good writing and a plan.
Here's the problem. James Gunn has nothing to do with this story.
Doesn't he have some?
Well, what he has to do is that he made notes to change so it fit with his stuff. But the movie was already written by Andy Muschietti and already doing that treatment. So to me, that's what's...
Andy Muschietti, whatever.
Andy Muschietti.
This person's not going to be a part of anything coming.
I mean,
forward.
he might.
Okay, cool.
But here's the thing: now that is his, whatever he does is now tied to what James Gunn is doing.
Right.
So to me, James Gunn is now the architect.
So you're afraid that he gets credit for something that he didn't earn.
No, I'm not. I don't care about the credit. What I'm saying is what it sets up. What it sets up now is, even if this is amazing, I think what
if James Gunn's universe is amazing.
It could be. It could be. I could be. But knowing, like, my preference is I don't like his movies.
Right.
So if you're handing the baton to this guy and then he's going to run with it.
But he's not doing every movie. Right?
No,
he's
but
doing
he's
Superman. Which, isn't there news on that, by the way? Isn't there something going on with that?
There's...
Oh, okay.
I mean...
I don't know.
All right.
If you consider this news, that he announced that Crypto was going to be in the movie, so Superman's dog, which I think is one of the dumbest things. Like, why do you want a dog that flies? Like, come on.
Okay.
You know?
Gotcha.
And there's...
Wait, The Rock? The Rock's going to be in this?
And there's
the animated
rumors,
series.
There's rumors about they're starting to get casting and stuff. But
gotcha. Sorry.
What's the guy's name?
Nicholas Hoult.
Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor.
I thought he was. They said he was Superman.
No, there's.
I saw him
Superman
in
or
Superman suit.
He's Lex Luthor.
Yeah, that's what I saw. That's on the Photoshop.
Yeah.
So there's kind of just been casting, and we're probably gonna get some casting here pretty soon.
Okay.
And other people, he also said that there's going to be characters from Guardians of the Galaxy, actors that are going to be in Superman. So people are like,
sure.
So actors.
Who's Chris Pratt? Who's Chris Pratt playing?
Yeah.
Bradley Cooper,
Let's
Superman?
Go. I'm down. Let's go.
But anyways, that's why I'm not excited. I'm not as excited because I feel like if this is great, to me it's like, okay, but now
that's fine.
It's James Gunn's turn.
But we can enjoy it on a single movie level, right?
Absolutely.
And then after that we say, he screwed the pooch, you know, he messed it up. But hey, maybe it's gonna be good. Who knows? When is it coming out?
June.
Oh, June. Okay.
Yeah.
The next month.
Yeah. Sweet. That'll be good.
And then Indiana Jones is coming out again. So
yeah. When I watched Guardians of the Galaxy again last weekend, I saw that trailer, dude.
Big James Gunn fan right here. He's seen Guardians of the Galaxy
it twice, dude. Gosh dang it. Bree watched it. Dude, watching it with my mom is so funny. She liked the animal parts, you know, like the aspect of that, the main story, but she's bugged by a lot of it, obviously.
Yeah, they gutted the animals.
No.
They murdered them, cold blood.
Huh? I mean, they got shot. Spoilers. Whoa. They got shot, bro. What was I going to say? Oh, watching it with my mom is so funny because she's just reacting to it all the time, like gasping and, so funny. If you want to go watch like a good movie, like go watch a movie with my mom, it's a great experience. It gets you hyped.
I still remember watching Return of the King in theaters with your mom.
Oh, really?
And when Shelob comes out, and it's like above her, she's like freaking out.
Yeah.
It's like he's like looking around.
Yeah,
you don't see it, and it stabs him.
Dude, talk about like getting into the story. She's so engulfed in it. It's so
That's
great.
awesome.
Yeah.
The other things that I was going to say is the writer's strike is continuing, but they said that that's going to delay The Mandalorian Season 4. So probably some other Star Wars projects are going to be pushed back.
All the movies they announced are all pushed back for sure.
Heck, man.
We're still going to get Ahsoka, though, so, I mean, we're good. We golden. We Gucci. But, yeah, other than that, I think... the other thing, too, I don't know if you guys believe this or not, but Freddie Prinze Jr. said that he's done.
I saw that.
Playing. He's like, anytime they bring back Kanan's voice, it kind of dilutes the character more. So I'm done playing Kanan. It's not happening. And the guy, Christian Harloff, was doing the interview. He's like, not even so no Ahsoka. He's like, nah, I'm more of a Star Trek guy, anyways.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, Star Trek. I grew up with Star Trek, and they've got sex in it, so it's way cooler.
He's like, all Star Wars fans are mad at me.
Because of all the stuff he was saying about, like, Dave Filoni completely went in there and changed it, and everyone at Lucasfilm was like, "What? What are you talking about, dude?"
Yeah, he probably got in trouble.
Jeez,
but yeah, he was like, no, Kanan's done. He's like, he already had his. I would not. He's like, I don't want to play him in live action or anything. I'm like, dang it, that was gonna be one of my questions. Will we see Kanan in the Ahsoka show?
Still ask it. Mick's gonna be like, yeah, for sure.
I mean, he's an actor, bro. He might have just been putting on an act.
It's true. I'm still gonna ask that question. I'm still gonna say yes.
Maybe.
It could, even if it's just the back of him. doesn't have to be Freddie Prinze.
What if they just deep fake his face?
Yo.
They're like,
He doesn't look like Freddie Prinze Jr. He doesn't look like Freddie Prinze Jr. They could have anybody.
Okay. So, okay, cool.
That's true.
Who are they casting?
And he's blind, so most of the time he had something over.
And all the other actors that are playing Rebels characters aren't the actors. Like, they're not the voice actors.
Yeah, they are. Zeb is. Get wrecked.
Well, Zeb is, but Vanessa Marshall's not Hera.
All the other ones.
But we don't know if Zeb's going to be. We don't know if Zeb's going to be in the
Got
Ahsoka
him.
show.
Zeb's 100% in the Ahsoka show.
We'll
Ask that question. I'm going to knock it out of the park.
Yeah, you need to finish Jedi Survivor, dude. Gosh damn.
Yeah, I'm.
It suck.
I think I have 3 hours left.
Yeah.
In the video I'm watching.
Nice. Yeah, it's a good story too, man. That freaking was a great story. We've been getting some good story lately.
Hey, back-to-back good games, and then Diablo's going to be 3 for 3.
I think so too. Yeah, it's pretty sick. I'm stoked.
Nice. Anything else?
I think that's it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for our episode this week. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, for listening, for watching. You can find us on YouTube, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We'll be back next week with something. We'll talk about something, figure it out. If not, we'll just be hanging out.
Games. You know, I thought of a sweet concept. You know, we were talking about AI. Why don't I have AI ask us questions?
Hey,
and you guys can answer them. How about that?
I refuse.
AI nerd questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fight the power.
It'd be awesome.
I'm down. All right. Next week, AI.
Dude, this guy.
AI questions.
Or it'll be me. I'll ask questions.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks so much. We'll see y'all next week.